Lofalava, Bulavanaka, hello and welcome to the start of round 3 of Super Rugby Pacific.
And there it is! The all-time try-scoring record! It belongs to Julian Sarvian. A little bit of space. Sabu races over. Stepping, over he goes. The Fijian drawer have done it then. Caused a boil over. It's a stunning finish from the centre for the win. In front of their home crowd.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. What a wild weekend of rugby results. The Crusaders, the Chiefs and the Blues all lost. England beat Ireland, Italy get a win. Lucky one of JK's teams won on the weekend. And the Hurricanes, who would have thought they would be the only unbeaten side in Super Rugby Pacific after 3 rounds. It is just crazy. Sir John Kerwin, Mills Muliaina, Jeff Wilson, great to have all three of you back. You were in Melbourne, you were at the golf and you were at a wild
I
wedding.
just want to tell you people, Goldie is grumpy. He's been grumpy in the green room, he's grumpy about... Your Highlanders are winning, mate. Why are you grumpy?
I'm not grumpy about anything, mate. I'm just happy to see you. How was Melbourne? How was your weekend
Melbourne
away?
was great, thank you.
How many
what about Italy?
Oh.
Italia!
What about the Blues, JK?
They'll still be partying.
Yeah, you were dancing like 5 years ago, the last time they won a game as well on the breakdown. You were dancing in this... You were dancing.
And
There'll
the
be a
golf,
party in Rome.
how was the golf in Queenstown?
I never recovered from the weekend that Mills beat me in a game of golf. I never really recovered. It was a great down in Queenstown. Look, the Open was fantastic, but I certainly had an eye on what was happening, not just obviously over across the Tasman when I was away, but this last weekend. There's been some great rugby. Looking forward to talking about it.
Let's talk about it then. I mean, how unpredictable is rugby right now? Not just Super Rugby, but international rugby. If you look at it, is this the most even competition has been in a long time, Mills?
I'd say, how exciting is it? This is exactly what we've sort of been asking for. I mean, we remember the sort of before the first round, we mentioned the fact, let's hope that the Aussies are going to be competitive. You look over the Six Nations and the way what's happening over there, but also, JK, how attractive is some of the play that's happening at the moment? That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, and I've been talking to some of the players afterwards and they're talking about how hard it is, how much fatigue there is in the game now. I think there's been a real turnaround from the referees. Super round, Goldie was fantastic. Just really good rugby. And the Six Nations, they seem to be playing a whole lot more. So there's been obviously some meetings behind closed doors with the referees because besides the odd, ref not taking control of the scrums and just penalising early, it's been fantastic.
You love a scrum, JK.
Let's be honest though, Kirsty. I mean, the Crusaders being 0-3 in Super Rugby is territory that hasn't been crossed since 1996, right? So all of a sudden, you're seeing other teams, you're noticing other teams. It feels different already. And the fact that all of a sudden the Hurricanes, who are a quality side, who I said at the start of the season, if they stayed healthy,
Did you
could be
say that? Because I've been coming up to me in the last 24 hours saying none of us have been talking about the Hurricanes and they deserve their time.
It might have been the last thing I said. It might have been the last thing I said and everyone had switched off by then. But clearly,
it was just after you picked the Crusaders to win.
Look, I don't want to... Well, we're going to
Just after you picked the Crusaders to win, if I remember.
We'll talk about that as well.
You said the sleepers, the Hurricanes, and the Crusaders will win.
The tournament, it's not over yet, is it? Is the competition finished? I don't think it's finished, is it?
Anyway, the Hurricanes and Australian rugby potentially deserve a bit more credit than we've been giving them on the breakdown. Is that fair to say?
The Queensland Reds were really good. I was on the sideline, and in Melbourne, they were really, really good. They were composed, they were talking, their defence was great. They were really technical, Mills, like in the little parts of the game, and they just did not go away. And that was a pretty intense game.
I don't think it's about not giving them credit. For the Hurricanes, they had a tough ask. I mean, and that's huge that they've come away from Perth first in the Super Round in Melbourne, and then, the Blues.
Without Geordie Barrett.
Without Geordie Barrett, that's massive. When you look at the Australian side, I think we're all just sort of hoping that they're going to bring it. I mean, and now they have in round 3. I'm hoping that they continue to do that. And it's all sort of mixed sort of results, really. It's not sort of one team sort of coming out and dominating. The Waratahs are very good against the Crusaders. Then the Highlanders have tipped them up. The Rebels and the other team as well. And now the Reds. So this is the sort of competition that we're wanting. You know, you don't want to turn up every week and go, oh, man, it's another New Zealand team. You know, I mean, as much as we love the Kiwi teams, we want the Australians to be just as strong.
Well, let's talk about the team that Jeff predicted to win Super Rugby in 2024, and we're talking about the Crusaders. JK's laughing, but yes, you're right. It has been 1996, the first year of the competition since the Crusaders dropped 3 straight. But
98.
How far off the pace are they really?
98.
They nearly beat the Chiefs. They had a slip up against the Waratahs, and let's be honest, no teams win in Fiji. Are they really that far off the pace?
I spoke to Marshy last night because Wayne Smith told me they lost 9 in a row or 7 in a row in 98, and I confirmed it last night with Marshy. They lost 7 in a row and won the competition in 98 because Blues won at 95, 96.
96, 97.
So they can lose another 4 matches and still win this competition.
I reckon there is a little bit of a crisis, if I can have my 2 cents worth. I have never seen them, in Melbourne they were really inaccurate, stuff that I'm not used to seeing. When I talked about, you know, the Reds being accurate, there were little things they weren't doing. They were missing clean outs. There was just some stuff that I reckon they need to at least have a mini emergency meeting this week.
It's a hard one, right? Because when they get in these sort of situations, they haven't sort of won. They've had a nucleus of guys that have been there and sort of been in that position, and sort of then they've got themselves out of it. They've got a new coach. So important for a coach to sort of stay in there with Rob Penny, but also guys coming back. You still got to remember there's some very important guys that sort of, you know, Havili's a big one, right? And he will make a massive difference, and particularly when you got youngsters in there with Taha and the halfback sort of pairing. I mean, Hines was picked this week, but a couple little wee changes, and they're a different team.
How long before they put David Havili in at 10 to start? For the last 2 weeks, he's moved there around the 60-minute mark.
Well, it's a hard one. I mean, this is what Rob will have to sort of ponder. The fact that do you steal it up? And I think they probably need a little bit more control. But the youngsters that they've got there, I mean, it starts up front, and that's where they're possibly not winning. They're not as accurate as they have been in the past, and that's where they're going to get. But it is. It's only round 3.
I don't want Havili at 10. Full stop. He's like our All Black 12 or 13. So I want him playing there. Like putting him in as it's just, I don't think it's the answer. I agree that they need to get some players back, but I think they've got a lot of work to do. And think about the next, what's their next draw?
They've got the Hurricanes next.
And after that, the Blues. And?
So you tell us.
Another New Zealand team.
Oh, look, there's no doubt. There's no doubt they're in trouble. When I selected them at the start of the season, before we'd even begun, I looked at their squad and looked at what they had. If you already look at who hasn't played and who's not going to be there, and that was before the news that Will Jordan was going to be out for the season. So their most dangerous and influential back is now out of the picture, not going to play, and looks as though he's going to miss the early games of the All Blacks, right? So he's gone. No Cody Taylor. Doesn't look as though he's going to be part of their campaign until later on. I think I've heard April, May, that he's coming back into the fold. So you're taking your starting hooker, who has been outstanding for the last 2 years, and you're taking their best player, their most attacking weapon at fullback, and a lot of their experience, and they haven't got experience to replace it with. So you've got 2 critical players there, and then Fergus Burke ruled out or is not coming back till later on in the season. He's not back till April, so he was the guy, the experienced 10 that you thought you might be able to call on. So for me, no Braden Enor. So there's a lot of things that they didn't have, and
Blackadder.
No, exactly, Blackadder. So, there's no Whitelock and Moanga going forward. We know that. That's not going to be there. But ultimately, I still think they're going to be part of the picture later on in the season. But what's crucial for them now, these early losses means that it gets really difficult to control your destiny in terms of home field advantage.
And they love the home field advantage.
And they're great at home.
Goldie,
so
if they lose the next 3 against the
they're not going to lose.
It's just about impossible, I bet.
Well,
so I reckon
this is the biggest month.
Are you saying if they make the playoffs, they can't win?
No, of course they can win, mate. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that they're not playing well, and they've got 3 derbies coming up. Is it 3? I'm pretty sure it is. And if you don't win those, man, it's going to be a hard run through.
But it's not necessarily over, is it, Jeff? You'll be able to tell us how many games can they lose and still make the 8. The Highlanders were an example of this a couple of years ago. You can still make the 8 even if they drop 7, 8 matches throughout the season. Win the Australian games.
It's just for them right now.
It's controlling
all of a sudden controlling their destiny, which they've done so very well up until now. Their streak was about the fact they got the controlling home field advantage. And then when they had to win one big one away, they were able to do that. Look, I'm not saying it's over.
No, to be fair, mate,
it's just getting harder every week.
To be fair, I'd never write them off.
No,
and I don't want them to go badly, believe it or not.
But I'm not...
unless they play the Blues.
Good to hear, JK.
However, I think that the next 3 weeks are really critical.
Crucial.
I can see right now, I'm not picking them now to win Super Rugby.
You're not?
Oh, 3 weeks
No, I'm not. I'm not
You
picking
just
them
said,
now.
you just said it's only round 3.
Hold on, that's where you can change because circumstances change with teams. If you lose 2 or 3 players to injury, no, I'll stay with the bandwagon. No, you don't. You go to the team that's best qualified.
But you just said it's...
I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying I'm not picking.
I'm going to change in round 18. I'll change my pick in round 18, mate.
Mill's more the guy that doesn't make a pick. Who hasn't made a pick yet? You picked 2 teams. The Chiefs and the Blues. So you picked the Chiefs and Blues. It's fluid, man. It's fluid. You've got to move with what's actually happening in competition.
I'll tell you
That's what analysis does.
One person who has been a shining light, and it has been brilliant seeing him back on the field, is Sevu Reece. Carved up again in Fiji. Mills, what are your moments this week?
My moments, I mean, how good were the draw? I know, and I want to celebrate our flying Fijians. So my moments this week for Mills is moments of the flying Fijians. This guy first up, first and foremost, and I know he's scored some wonderful tries over the years, but because of the weekend and where he is, outstanding try. This is his 50th Super Rugby try as well. And what a finish. I mean, guys...
he's the forgotten man. Like, all of a sudden was out of the picture for probably the last 18 months. But how good has he been playing this year? Man on a mission. Wants to get that All Black jersey back.
The next guy I want you guys to focus your attention on is a guy I've played a heck of a lot of rugby with. And that's Sitiveni Sivivatu, probably the most intelligent rugby player that I've ever sort of played with and what he sort of had. And this night here, obviously the Lions' first test, and I know I love my Fijian brothers, but they don't move that fast when it's cold weather. This was negative 20 degrees, and I've never seen City move that fast, show some twinkle toes, and the way he finishes this try, unbelievable.
Amazing.
I just think I think the Fijians are some of the most gracious athletes you'll ever see on a rugby field. I just think watching Sevu run, watching City run, I always remember Joeli Venditti. Joeli was sick. No one knew he was sick. He didn't finish the 5K. He was 123 kilos, and I went over and I held his hand. I said, Joey, just win the sprint, mate. He was 123 kilos, and he ran it in 10.9 or something. And just give him the ball. But when Joey at full flight was beautiful, and they're just beautiful to watch.
Well, another Joey I want you to sort of think about once again is Josevata Roko Thoko, and he has scored some brilliant tries. And we picked a little one here. I mean, it probably wasn't as flamboyant as some of the ones that he has scored over the past few years when he was playing. But what I loved about it is this: the Roko Thoko dive. Not bad, and he was pretty fast too. 10.8. I think his uncle was Joeli Venditti too, cousin to Sitiveni.
Oh, really?
They're all fast. I mean, they're pretty fast. They're all fast. I would love to have played with him. I would love to have played with a number of these guys. I would not like to have played against this next one, though.
Love playing with this next one. And he's my next pick. I mean, Rupeni, then. I mean, this is torrential rain right here. Look at him. I mean, does he even look like he wants to slow down? You know what, Dougie, you have a little pass here, and then, I'll just back up as well. I've done all the hard work, so surely in a right foot step. Thank you very much. Oh man, he was powerful, fast. I mean, JK.
He demolished Scotland in a game for Fiji. What was it, 2015 World Cup? Or 2011? It might have been 2011 in France. And if he had been fitter, because it was towards the end of his career, he ran out of juice, but he demolished them by himself in the first half. I've never seen anything like it. Like, he would run round, like, we know angles, right? He would run round people, like really great athletes, by about 10 yards. It was incredible.
It was old school, like kid stuff. Kids used to run around the outside, run around the outside. He's doing that in professional rugby.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to leave it just for the backs, right? I've got to throw in some hard workers in there. So the last guy here, the flying Fijians, and I tell you what, Peter Gustoko. I mean, What? I mean, what's this? Bro!
Well, that changed the laws, remember?
Yes.
That move right there changed the rules of the game. The laws of the game, they said you're not allowed to jump to score a try now. Happened against the Highlanders too. We probably would have won that game.
So athletic that
but
guy.
he's
I mean,
awesome,
that's
man.
the athleticism of these men. I mean, and I know I've only picked out a few, some of my favourites, but man, that's been so influential in terms of our game. It's so special to see those guys.
And they don't get a vote.
Well, we'll get to the governance issues, JK. We'll get to the governance issues. You will have your time. But let's stay with Super Rugby, a team that Peter Gus used to light it up for. The Chiefs, shocked by the Reds, you must say. They are not invincible, like some may have thought on this program. I'll eat my hat. What do you blame? Do you blame the rest protocols? Do you blame the Gold Coast? I mean, what did you see?
Well, funnily enough, the Reds got them last year, right?
Is that their bogey
Unbelievably,
team?
you know, and sometimes you've got a bogey team, you know, and the Reds, I like some of the things we've seen from them already this year, you know. They were dominant against the Waratahs, I think, early in the competition. So I look at it and, look, the Chiefs will be bitterly disappointed. They put themselves in a position, but they weren't quite good enough to get across the line. And I don't think you should be concerned, Mills, JK, but ultimately, this is a game going into, you'd think to yourself, if you're a champion side, you'd win this sort of matchup. A lot of guys didn't play, though, so...
Yeah, look, I just think that I think Les Kiss has done an amazing job with this Queensland Red side. They're just really well drilled. And, you know, we talk often about the ebb and flow of a game. And talking about the Blues last night, one thing in their favour was I thought the Hurricanes were going to explode, because some teams can, right? And they stayed in it. What the Reds do is they counter back at you. Like, you score and then they come back straight away with something they're really, really solid around that mental side of the game. So the Chiefs couldn't get that extra try where you sort of start to free up a bit. So I think something special about the Reds, just hard working.
I think something that sort of has come out of this weekend is, you know, how hard it's going to be later on. I know I mentioned round 18. I mean, some of these contacts and things like the Reds, I mean, they've brought a different sort of style too. I mean, they didn't have Jordan Patea sort of playing, so they were missing a few sort of hardness. So how do you manage your team? The Crusaders are going through it at the moment, right? They're going through managing the injuries that they've got. The Chiefs were doing the same. So they're kind of, I wouldn't say rotating, but they're making sure their squads are really solid for the end of the season. The Blues have done it somewhat with some of their players returning back. But I think come round 15, and when I'm almost ready to pick my team to win in round 18, I think there'll be some solid teams.
I don't even know, this is round 18. That's the final, I think.
I thought we were allowed to use that word. It's like a swear word.
Well, rotation's back, because your coach,
I said it wasn't.
the coach of the Blues, has talked about it.
Well,
Well,
actually, it's
and
funny.
you
It's
had
funny
two
you should say
players.
that, because when I thought of Peter Gus, the problem with Peter Gus, I feel that we didn't get the best out of him. He left was because they didn't rotate him because he wasn't an All Black. Remember, he played all the whole season. So I don't disagree with the players being put on the bench after 5 games. When I was coaching, I played Jerome Kino for too long and he got injured. So putting Hoskins on the bench last night, I don't mind that, because if you need him, you put him on, even though he went on at 12.
He did end up there. He did end up in the midfield in the final 10 minutes because Mark Telea came off with rib problems after he played outstanding for 70 minutes. Brave move from Vern Cotter, though, picking a 6-2 split on the bench, one that did not pay off last night due to the unforeseen HIAs that happened to their wing and fullback in the first 15 minutes of that game. Does the 6-2 split suit the New Zealand style, Mills? Was that a mistake?
Well, I think what it shows is the tactics the coaches are willing to be able to go into. He would have went into this saying, I'm going to try and beat up that, the 8. And unfortunately, you can't, I suppose, think about the fact that two of your backs are going to get HIAs. But that's the risk that you end up taking going into this. So tactically, he perhaps sort of thought, OK, next time I'd love to have it better. How does he make sure when the next time that they play up in Auckland at Eden Park, what does that look like a bit? But certainly last night, it just the dynamics of it and everything else to flow in for them as well, to get back in. The guys all over the place, JK. Yeah. It just didn't sort of suit them.
Well, I don't think it was a bad move, just because when you look at the bench of the Hurricanes and you talk to them, they are playing that 23-man game, and their bench came online last night. Was amazing. But you take that risk and it's going to backfire on you, right? I think, poor old Funaki came on, and a couple of times he's out of position. He played incredibly well, I thought. Well. And then Mark Telea was swapping sides. But it's really hard out wide in the wing defensively. So, yeah, it's a tactical decision, and it backfired.
Time will tell whether or not that loss hurts them. down the track. I mean, it was a derby against a Hurricanes team, which is a good form. Without Bodie Barrett, I thought the Hurricanes were really good. Yeah. But I think the Blues presented them with an opportunity. And then, like you say, once it became unstructured because of the changes they had to make and the back line, what it looked like, and guys shifting around. And Mark Talia was covering some serious territory. And then he's trying to come over an injury and played really, really well. But you made a mistake in your early days coaching for the Blues, and you admitted that, the fact you made too many changes to stop, and it stopped your momentum.
Totally.
You made it, and for me, I think it's critical. And when I watch Mark Talia, and yes, we're getting used to seeing this because we see it every week, Mills. Yeah. But you left your best player on form on the bench in Hoskins Tutu. And he came on, and his job, the impact he could was made harder by the fact what he was playing with around him. It wasn't like it was settled. So for me, I think it was a mistake. But time will tell whether or not they get punished because of it.
I've seen a different side to Hoskins, though, when he came on. He'd almost sort of I want to go out there and absolutely, smash my body, because of the fact that it did get sort of, how to scale. Pedal Feta wasn't in rhythm because he now had to start thinking about how we're going to change our game plan, considering we haven't got, what we thought we were going to get because of those players we lost. So it became a little bit how to scale, but a lot of work rate for guys like Talia, and they got through a lot of work. And even when you think about the teams like Moana Pacifica, I mean, Julian Savia, which we know we're going to touch on a bit later, he has had a lot of minutes, and so how do you make sure those guys don't get too many?
And the Blues, a number of injuries in their group as well. Yes. Ofatuanga Fasi's out to give him some conditioning to get conditioning, but that's fine if he's not quite ready and where he needs to be. But no locks available. That was a big challenge for them. So there were some things on their side which they'll be different the next time.
Hurricanes also lacking a lot of leadership without their captain, without Duplessis Kirifi as well. But just on the Hurricanes and Blues, when it comes to New Zealand derbies, we always talk about All Black matchups because this is what selectors are looking at, right, is the derby games. Did Cam Roigard outplay his All Black opposite 9 and Finlay Christie? Is that fair to say?
Who wants to go? Because I'll go if you want me to. I thought he was awesome. I thought Cam Roigard was outstanding. Dangerous every time he ran, through the middle of the park, so strong. This is a threat that you need in the international game now. You cannot just pass. I thought he was brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing how he continues to build on what he's done last year. He came in at the start of the season on fire in terms of his conditioning. He looks great. Love what I saw.
Oh, I have to agree. I think he did. I mean, but different circumstances with Christie on the other side, and the fact. What I love about it is the fact, last year he was an All Black. Yeah. They need to step up another level this year. You're seeing a guy that has really matured, and the taste of that All Black sort of jersey has now got him out to be a leader. He's coming back on the back end of the fact that TJ Perenara is now also sort of, sitting around as well. Yep. But he went to another level last night. He was definitely, he definitely outplayed Christie.
Yeah, I don't think Finlay had his best game, and he'd probably admit that. He's our All Black 9. I think they offered two different things. So when you look at Finlay, you're looking at the accuracy of his pass, and probably last night he won't be too happy with a couple of the passes that at wrong times didn't find their mark. But they are both class players. I think Cam just is bringing something different. Like, you can't, if you're tired around the ruck, man, he sees that and he attacks you.
And he's strong.
And he's very strong. Very strong. He did have some really good go-forward ball, at times, but, I think it's a great competition. I think the halfback stakes are in pretty good condition.
What about the fullback stakes? Knowing that Will Jordan's probably not going to be available. We talked about it last week that a lot of these guys playing fullback are in their 3rd or 4th year of Super Rugby, and many are starting to talk about Ruben Love, part of that All Blacks picture, Jeff.
I'm talking about him because the one thing he's got is he's got a fantastic skill set. I think that the balance they get between him and Brett Cameron is perfect. Yeah. His intent every time he catches the ball, he's great on his feet, his passing game's outstanding. I think there's nothing he can't do on, and you watch him, his ability and knack and how calm he is in his positional play. He's always at the right place at the right time, understands when he should throw a pass under pressure. Yeah. He should give it might not be perfect. Really love the start he's had in the season, and I think he should be in the conversation.
I think he is in the conversation. I mean, I know it's only round 3, but when you're playing the way you are and your team's playing the way, I mean, look at that, 91 metres, try assists of 3. That's key for me, the assists, because when he first started, and he's been out for injury, majority of last year, when he first came on, brings plenty of energy, which he does, as the youngsters do, and then again this year, he's brought a lot of energy as well. The key now is that balance. When do you pass? When do you know it? And he's got the skill set. We've just seen that pass before, how clean it was. Now it's about balancing that up. I think he's definitely in the conversation. position. I know he plays 10. I think fullback's his best position. He brings a different threat.
Stephen Pettifeta was good though. In a losing effort, I thought he played well for the Blues.
He's my fullback.
Who's your fullback?
Love. He's in
Love
my
it.
team. Like, he is the number 15 for the All Blacks right now.
Are you allowed to change that selection as things go on? Because apparently in the show you're not allowed to change your pick.
Who else is he?
He's going to change it next week.
Sean Stevenson.
Who else is there?
Bowden Barrett.
Well, Bowden's overseas. Bowden will be in the side. I think that the thing that Love's doing differently is he's also really tough on defence. He's not scared. He's got pace. Last night he was out of position. I was watching him by about 5 yards, and that he just gassed it and was back in position. And that's what Will Jordan can do. And you know that, Mills, eh? For a fullback, sometimes you might get a little bit tricked by the 10.
Yeah,
you got to recover.
You know that.
speed.
He's got so much energy that he's almost doing too much. He's talking, he's fishing. There's so many pictures there. Now you've all of a sudden saying he's still a little bit of that, but he's a calming influence. He's going, okay, this is an opportunity now. This is what I'm going to stick to. And that's what I really love about the maturity. That's where we sort of come to now as a player.
How exciting is it that new players are starting to present themselves the year after the Rugby World Cup? It is great for us to watch, great for you to watch at home as well. Well, don't forget, the next generation of Super Rugby players, the Super Rugby Under-20 competition kicks off, and we'll have you completely covered on Sky Sport. First weekend, live 11 a.m. This weekend. There are 5 New Zealand Under-20s teams. There are a couple from the Pacific Islands, and there is a Barbarian side as well. It is going to be a fantastic competition. But time now for our trivia questions, and you three can all sit tight because remember, you're not involved in this one. This is specifically for you at home to do during the break. So our trivia question for you today: off the back of Mills's moments, there have been 13 All Blacks born in Fiji. 1 born in Hong Kong. 1 All Black born in Hong Kong. Who is it? That is your trivia question. Have a little think about it. We'll have the answer for you right after this.
Shimmering it away for Tui. Going for the corner, Ruben Tui scores. Once here, Puckett flings it away, and they're going to score. Yes, they are. The fifth on the barely. Oh, ball not out. It's going to be a try. Yes, it is. They beat the Blues in round 2 of Super Rugby Opiki. Ricochet off, so there's a chance now. Monaga, tongue away on the left side. Yeah, they're inside the 2-metre line. Olsen Baker finally, and the drive for the try. Can they get the ball down? Yes! Hurricanes power 36, Mata 2, 29.
My Hooky, my welcome back into the breakdown. They're all laughing because they didn't know the answer to the trivia question.
No.
Did you? We'll bring it back up again.
First,
the
hang on.
question was...
Ask the question again. Like,
Okay, the question
you totally
was,
confused me.
But it wasn't for you at the end of the day. Remember, it was for you at home to play along. 13 All Blacks have been born in Fiji. Who was the only All Black born in Hong Kong?
But, so you're saying there's a Fijian that was born in Hong Kong who played for the All Blacks? That's how I've understood the question.
Okay, well, anyway, the answer to that is someone that you should know, JK. You should have known the answer to this. He played for England, Jamie Salmon.
Yeah, he looks Fijian.
He's a good player.
What?
Oh, that's a dumb question. Who wrote that?
Not me. Not me. Anyway, that is your trivia question for today. Thank you very much for playing along at home and for not questioning the Quizmaster like JK does. But we've got a very special guest joining us on the program today. She is an Olympic champion. She is a multiple world champion. She's switching codes and joining the Brisbane Broncos in the Women's NRLW Rugby League competition. Stacey Waka. Stacey, first of all, congratulations. This is huge news and we're all so excited for you. How long have you been a league supporter for? Is this a dream come true or has this come from left field?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm very nervous, super excited, but I have to be really honest with you guys. I haven't been a league supporter for a long time. I've only just jumped on the bandwagon from the left field maybe in the last 2 years since the NRLW has grown. Obviously, a few of my friends have made the transitions. So I thought, why not grab the opportunity while I can?
We need a Warriors women's team so you can really jump on the bandwagon then, Stace. But for now, it'll be the Broncos. You've been recontracted to the New Zealand Sevens setup for the next couple of years, which is just fantastic. You've also signed a deal last year to head across to America. How many opportunities are there now for female athletes that can cross codes?
There are so many, and like you said, America for me last year was awesome. It was a good mental break away from New Zealand. There's so many opportunities in Japan and the UK now. Women's rugby is obviously growing massively all around the world, and I know they only want to continue that spirit in America with the World Cups heading there in 8 years' time too. So it's cool, and I love it. I'm grateful to be a part of that transition for these opportunities, playing sevens, playing 15s, and now get my hand in that league. But I've still got to learn the rules a little bit. I'm not going to lie, Kirst.
Stacey, so what you're saying to me is, if you've never played a game of rugby league?
Never played a game of rugby league in my life.
Is that a little bit scary? Let's be honest. The fact that I remember I got offered an opportunity to play rugby league and I had no interest whatsoever. The fact I didn't really want to play any defence, and the fact that the responsibility of bringing it back. How did the Broncos sell it to you?
Yeah, no, I suppose my agent put in a few good words and he helped that. But I think for me, we talked about skill set and the game plan, and I'm actually going to just start on the wing for now. A little bit easier to catch the ball and run. Don't have to think too hard. But they're going to mentor me over this next year. Lots of video footage analysis on huddle before I head over, because my first game, fingers crossed, is straight after the Olympics. It's a short campaign, but I have been watching, so I've been trying to learn. And Niall has been in my ear, good mate of mine who's obviously playing for the Titans, and fingers crossed I get to debut against her in the Titans straight after the Olympics if I get my opportunity.
That would be absolutely amazing. Now, Stacey, it would be remiss of us not to bring this guy in who's sitting across the table. JK, do you have any tips, any words of advice? Someone that has been the crosscode hover from rugby to league, what would you say?
I wasn't a great league player, so you'll probably be way better than me. Yeah, like I always thought I'd actually play in the back row, so starting on the wing's sort of the right thing to do, but where would you like to play? Because in rugby league, could even 9, hooker.
Yeah, well, I ideally would love to play centre. Obviously, a little bit easier for me, get to try and set a few things up. But a lot of people have been asking potentially fullback, and I was like, oh, it's a little bit more running than I'd ideally like. I'm happy being on the wing because I know there's a lot of crossfield kicks, and using my skill set from sevens, the restart kickoffs, hopefully that can kind of help me transition there. So
the other thing I did.
About halfback, but...
The other thing I did is wore shoulder pads, but that's just for looks.
Yeah, no, JK, no. Sorry, those
Stace, do you think this is just going to become the norm for female rugby sevens league players in New Zealand? And have New Zealand Rugby been supportive of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've talked about it in interviews. We only have 20 contracts in the sevens, and there's hundreds of girls now playing rugby. You've got our young girls coming up wanting to be black ferns, not just silver ferns. So, of course, if girls are on the edge and they can't quite make it into the contracted squad of 20, why not take your opportunity overseas and the likes of the NRLW or in 15s where it's growing so much worldwide. So, yeah, I think it's definitely something the girls can look forward to. They don't have to be stopped by one sport. They can go and play league. They can go and try different things. And I suppose that's just one thing I think for me is it's a new challenge. I've been in New Zealand Rugby for 10 years now. They have supported me. Like you said, I'm still here for the next 2 years. I'm only going over for 2 months just to see what it's like. Maybe I can learn some new things over there, bring it back, and vice versa. I'm excited. I'm nervous but yeah, I can't wait till the day comes.
And just finally, Stace, you've had a little bit of an injury, so we haven't seen you at the last couple of sevens tournaments. How are you, and when are we going to see you back out there?
Yeah, it was a little bit different watching from home, but I obviously got ruled out a couple of days before the girls left with a bit of a calf injury. Only grade 1, so nothing too major, thankfully. We got it at the right time. It's been awesome staying home with whānau and just a bit of a reset, a bit of a slow down, get my body right, my whole body right for this next tournament. So I should be back team training next week or the week after. and put myself in contention for Hong Kong World Series. But just take it day by day at the moment with how my body's going.
Thank you so much, Stace. We cannot wait to see you back out there. And a shout out to your teammates, the Blackfern Sevens, who have just won back-to-back tournaments in Vancouver and LA. JK, as one of the OG, the original Crosscode Stars, what do you think about this move in the women's game? Is it just going to become the normal, and is it like the equivalent of men taking sabbaticals? Well,
we got banned back in my day, so there's a big difference. We weren't allowed to come back to rugby. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think as the female game establishes itself, especially financially, for us to keep these players, I think is really, really important. So, I'd love to even see netball back into it, because a lot of these athletes coming from netball, whatever we need to do to make sure our superstars stay in the game while we build it, bring it on. I think it'll be hard. I think I don't know, like for me, when I first went, we were in an aerobic game when I was playing rugby, and I went to an anaerobic game, so it was just like a shuttle run. It was really tough.
Yeah.
But I think we might be a bit closer fitness.
I'm with you. I'm like, Stacey mentioned she's excited but sort of nervous at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, we underestimate the difficulties of changing codes. She's only going there for a couple of months, but the way our Wahine have done it, man, this is awesome. It's an awesome transition. I mean, going from 15s, even 7s to rugby league. I mean, she's going to be playing on the wing, but she's going to get a lot of high balls, and she's going to have to carry some ball back too.
If the opportunity and money was there, would you have gone over?
Well, not the opportunity, perhaps the money, because I thought JK was going to ask how many zeros she had on the end of that contract.
Do they get paid? They get paid 2 contracts. That's all right.
It's absolutely brilliant for our female athletes to be able to do this and to have other opportunities, isn't it? Well, it's time now for our 7 things you may have missed from across the weekend. And the first one, Julian Savia. You mentioned him, Mills. He is now the most elusive try scorer in Super Rugby history. 61 barnstorming tries.
I know, it was beautiful to see, isn't it? I mean, seeing him do this. And we're probably all expecting him to be a blockbuster, but it's nice to see him on the wing, get it on the wing.
I would have liked him to run over someone, just for to get this, because we've waited so long. It would have been nice just seen him bump someone off, because let's be honest, that's what we're going to remember him by at the end of his career in his power.
Pretty amazing.
I'm just happy for him, because I know when those milestones are hanging over you, it's nice to get them out of the way early. So we've been waiting a couple of weeks, pressure's off now, it's awesome. Well done, deserves it.
Well, here's another thing to celebrate for Kiwis. Gilbert Enoka, who was the All Blacks mental skills coach for the last couple of decades, he has signed with New South Wales for State of Origin under Michael Maguire. Your old mate JK, good move?
Yeah, no, I think fantastic move. He's got a lot to offer. He's got a lot of experience, and I think when you're talking about a short tournament like that, how important the State of Origin is for the Australians, he'll be able to add something awesome. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, wonderful weekend for the Liners. Tom and Louis. Tom was part of the Reds that beat the Chiefs, and Lewis was part of the Italian side, JK, who beat Scotland.
Italia. Yeah, I mean, Saracens boy, I know Michael was actually last weekend, he was in Australia to watch Tom play. Really happy for Michael, fantastic guy. Him and I played together at Treviso. Obviously married an Italian like I did. Great for Italy that Lewis is over here, and he's a really good player.
That's a double thumbs up for me from Dad.
That's so cool.
That was cool.
That's great.
Here we go. The next one. Super Rugby boss Kevin Malloy has hinted that the Jaguares could return to Super Rugby, and this is, of course, off the back of the Rebels news that they may not be around next year. Are you a fan? Do you want Jaguares back, Mills, or would you bring another team?
I'd love to bring a Japanese team. And I know you mentioned the fact, why wouldn't you have Artie play for the Warriors? Well, why don't have Artie play for a Japanese team and some other sort of, Kiwis that are sort of not sort of starting or wanting to sort of apply their trade in a Japanese sort of team in our competition, and have them still available to be picked for the All Blacks because they're in Super Rugby competition. JK?
Yeah, I agree with that. I sort of know what Kevin's talking about, and I think he's got some good points, but I really want to see the Japanese in, because I think they are also where a lot of our financial solutions are. The Jaguares aren't. They can come in. I'm not worried about that, but I'd rather have a Japanese or 2 sides.
Well, another big story this week is the fact that Gallagher Insurance, and this is a different Gallagher to the one that sponsors the Chiefs, Gallagher Insurance has become the national partner of the 14 NPC teams. Or have they, JK? There seems to be a little bit of confusion. So can you explain to us your understanding of the situation?
Well, voce di corridoio, so don't tell anyone, right? It's a secret. No, the voce di corridoio, what I heard was the New Zealand Rugby Union's not actually that upset about this deal. The way it was promoted by, I think, by Jared Beer, he got in trouble because the trouble was what they've sold is some media assets. A media asset means, well, I found this out the other day, a media asset might be your jersey or a part of your media, social media, whatever that looks like. So this company has bought that, but they are not national sponsors. Apparently Bunnings got pretty upset about it. We won't be able to mention them, right? So these have come in, taken some, but New Zealand Rugby saying, that's good. If we can bring some more money into our game, that's fine. It's just they are not, that's why I crossed it out on the screen, they are not a national sponsor.
So a question for all of you then. Mark Robinson came on the breakdown and you'll all remember it, and he said the NPC is not fit for purpose. Deals like this, is that going to fix it? Is that going to save the national provincial competition?
Well, the question is what the national provincial competition should be. And that's something we've debated on the show a lot. And the reality is when you say it's not fit for purpose, ultimately now, the All Blacks don't play in it. You probably lose 15 to 20 players from Super Rugby. They head offshore or they head away. So ultimately is that next tier and level down. And it's been putting a strain on the provincial unions. So to put more investment into that rather than into the community game, clearly for me is a mistake. And this is where we need to get some agreement between the provincial unions and New Zealand Rugby. And we know there's been a piece of work done by some very smart men and women in regards to a governance review, which I know that New Zealand Rugby would like to follow. They would like to see the direction go that way. At the moment, they're not getting a lot of help. And this is just another area
Who's
where...
not getting help?
New Zealand Rugby is not getting a lot of help from the provincial unions, particularly when they start going down this path where they're selling or promoting something they can't promote. You need to understand who's operating in the best interests of the game here. The game has to come first, the national game. And we know the strain the community game is under. We talk about it on the show.
So this is my personal opinion. I believe that the national provincial sides get $40 million a year.
The unions, all of them, including Heartland.
All of them together. My concern is club rugby, I'll talk about Auckland, is dying, right? So are you going to spend some of that money on the community game, which I think we need to do? I think our game needs to change in the community. Or you're going to spend it on your NPC side and try and win a championship. So fit for purpose for me means where does this competition sit now? I personally believe it should be semi-professional and it should be a feeder to Super Rugby and played under Super Rugby. I think it's redundant in its current form. That's my opinion, right? We also need to start getting some of the money back into the community so that we can look after clubs and become community hubs again.
Yeah, pump the I suppose, the enthusiasm back into the game at the lower levels. And I guess what this sort of again illustrates is the missed communication, because you've got a union coming out and saying this is a national sponsor when it's not. Bunnings is the national sponsor of this competition. Heaps of factors, right? I mean, when does the competition actually start? Is it it is kind of semi-pro, but it should be a feeder. But at the end of the day, there is still they're still going like this at the fact that Bunnings is a great sponsor. I mean, I went and brought a mirror from Bunnings. How great! I still haven't been able to put it up.
A mirror. I get power tools. I'm a mirror. I get power tools. I need a mirror in the bathroom. But the thing is, I don't know what to do with them, but I've got them.
My one's still sitting on the floor. I've got to put it up. I don't know who's going to do that.
My wife goes to Bunnings. I don't even go.
Look, I want to ask this question though. When you start talking about fit for purpose, and you start talking about the NPC, I mean, what should it look like? How simple should it be? And are we looking at it, and are we looking in the right way? And are we connecting with our players and our fans? Or is it, they start talking about going back to the way NPC was? It's never going to... Is it ever going to get... Is it ever going to get back to that level?
Never. Unless
the All Blacks are playing.
You either get rid of Super Rugby and you go back to 7 or 8 provinces that play in the Super Rugby.
Yeah.
But I think that horse is bolted,
yeah.
Right? So, no, I believe that we need to put a second side under the super sides. Players a curtain raiser. Half those guys can be players coming back into their career. Other guys can go forward, have jobs. We just need to think about this differently and then spend more money in the community. Now, to be fair on rugby, we're probably only one of the only sports in the world that needs to take their professional money and keep growing the community. Most other sports don't. They just spend it right on their professional. But from what I believe, the governance review, the NPC sides need to be careful, because if I am the professional side and you don't want to play ball, well, See you later.
I think there's a handful of provincial unions are making this really difficult, really hard right now.
Do you know who they are?
Who are determined to try and win
Do you
a
know who
national
they are?
provincial championship title. You know who they are.
I'd love to know. Anyone else like to know? I think we'd all like to know if anyone can come up with a Woodgie Dakota Doyle next week.
They know who they are.
They know who they are. There he is.
know who you are.
There he is.
They know who they are.
Don't wreck our game. You know who you are. We're actually quite serious now. We actually need to change. If we don't, we're going to get left behind and the community get left behind.
There you go.
We're not getting in there anytime soon, are we?
Righto, we've talked a lot about Southern Hemisphere rugby, but we cannot forget about our northern rivals. There's been shocks, success, and coaches facing off in the Six Nations. We'll have more for you right after this. Welcome back into the breakdown. I'm still getting over the heated and pointed comments there from Sir John Kirwan, but that's okay. You can get away with it, JK.
He said who? What did you say? That's good.
They know.
You know who you are. You know who you are.
Who they are.
They know.
They know who they are.
They know.
They know who they are.
Voices in the corridor. Let's be honest. Come on.
Tell you who knows.
Oh, we've got a new segment.
I'll tell you who knows who they are, JK, and that is Italy.
Italia! How good!
Right,
Yes!
right there,
Yes!
their new coach.
Grazie ragazzi! Fiore, benissimo!
What was
We
this?
smashed them! They never looked like it. Look at that. They were never in the game.
JK,
Brilliant performance.
Full house
Go on.
in Rome, first home winner in 11 years for Italy.
We're celebrating the first home winner in 11 years. Like they're going to win the tournament.
I wasn't the coach last time.
I mean,
It's a good
yeah,
start.
but
It's a good
look,
start.
is this just? They're still probably going to get the wooden spoon, are they?
Oh, that's a ridiculous thing to say, mate.
What?
Like, look at that. Look at that. That's man emotion. I love that
They
stuff.
should have beat the
Boys will
French
be
as well.
crying.
They should have beat the French, the week before.
Actually,
they should have.
that's a very
They
good
should have.
point. That's a very
They
good
missed
point.
the kick. The good thing about this is I think Kieran Crowley, built something, and Cordado's come in and he's done a fantastic job. They're playing better, and you need to win that.
Yeah.
You need to win one of those games and you need to get a bit of a roll on. So, move on.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and we will move on. Let's move on to England because they've finally showed something, which is great, ahead of them coming to New Zealand. Have any of you three had a match-winning droppie in your time?
And more importantly, has he ever had a drop kick?
I think he has.
Have you? You've done one in a game.
I dropped it once but missed the ball.
The game wasn't a lot. I think this is really important because this proves to me that last year's World Cup wasn't a fluke.
Nah.
It wasn't a fluke. And once again, when the tournament was on the line, guess who didn't perform? Ireland. So Ireland now have presented an opportunity to both England and Scotland next weekend.
Yes.
It's a massive weekend. This one result. In fact, it's actually unfortunate for Scotland that they lost to Italy because Scotland would have had a massive chance to win the Six Nations. Whereas now England are relying on Scotland beating Ireland, but England have got a shot. So to me, it confirms that England are a serious threat. And if they get to play the way they want to play, when they come down here in the middle of the year, they're going to be dangerous.
They've been out a lot of heats as well, England.
Yes.
I mean, it's considering the results they've sort of had. But look at that. What a competition. How good is that? The fact, but again, you've got to back it up, right? And this is the big thing about it. They've got to back it up.
How damaging is this for Ireland, though, JK? If
I don't care, mate. I'm just looking how high Italy is up on the table. Look at that. Take a photo. Take a photo. How good.
Well,
not great for Wales.
no. And
Well, I wouldn't have picked England. They're second with a chance to win it. But the great thing about the Six Nations is a fantastic tournament. I tell anyone, if you actually want to do anything and have an event, like being in Rome on the weekend would have been amazing, but being in England would be fantastic, Twickenham. So it comes down to the last couple of weeks, but that's why the Six Nations is so great.
Well, remember 2 weeks ago when before these three actually ditched me last week, we had Mr. Fix-It that wanted to fix rugby with his 10 commandments. Ended up being 11, but that's okay. Today we're back with the new and improved version of the 10 commandments, all thanks to your feedback at home. JK, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, no, there was some really interesting replies. I've got heaps of likes. I think I must be like,
Are you chairman yet?
Well, I'm getting close. So, John Jeffrey, be very careful. But here's some for you.
You know who you are.
Most of my South African friends, and I'm going to tell you this for the last time, my boots, A lot is coming, you know, it's really hard for New Zealand to take a loss, JK. Let's be real. That had South Africa lost the World Cup, you would not be saying anything about it. That is not true, people. I think that South Africa would be one of the greatest adapters of the 10 or 11 commands we're talking about. They've got great athletes, so they come back, right? And then Dan Wong NZ, I would sell my house to keep JK away from anything to do with rugby administration. How much do you want for your house, mate? You probably live on the shore. My mate Andrea De Rossi, Grande JK, he was my captain, he was awesome. But most of the things, as you can see in the middle, lots of people supporting, want to see the game sped up. I wish you'd get rid of the caterpillar. But one thing that really came through that I want to discuss with you guys to go to the 12 commandments is that a lot of people have said to me, JK, we need to get rid of the jackal, right? And
What is wrong?
what are you leaning forward
I've been
for?
saying this for probably 2 years.
You have never said it. I've never heard you say it.
Mills.
I've heard him kind of say it in a
Oh,
rental car.
come on.
He has said it.
But anyway.
He has said
And
it.
a
I'm going to have to go through all the shows now and bring
You
it
know
back.
who we're talking about. You know who we're talking about. Anyway, but so the argument is that if we take the jackal out, because I believe what's happening with the jackal is you're only getting turnovers 3 or 4 times, but you're slowing the ball down. People are saying, won't they just spread in defence?
How do you reward the defensive team then? I mean, how would you reward
You win a
that?
counter-ruck because by dominating the tackle, then you put numbers into counter-ruck and you just have to get past the ball.
No hands
No
anywhere.
hands. Actually, do you know by law you're not supposed to have hands?
So what you're saying-
By law.
By law.
By law. But what we do is we allow guys come over the top. Very hard to referee. We're getting better at it, but still.
Yeah, that's-
the reason I wanted it out for community rugby in particular is because I think it's dangerous to be putting young kids in a position where they're putting they get taught to put their head on the ball.
Body position.
They're opening themselves, body positions, techniques. I'm thinking about protecting players as well as stopping players going off their feet.
But get back to the technical side, because I want to explain this properly because people need to keep voting. So you clean out through the rucks, which means the defence guys have to come in. So you think more people have to come in to counter a counter ruck, so it'll free up some space.
Exactly. If you commit more numbers, but that's your opportunity to get the ball back, which creates space.
I love it. I've just heard this for the first time today. Well done, JK. Great commandment.
12th commandment. I can't remember you saying it, Goldie. Seriously.
All things that could fix the game of rugby. We finish up tonight talking a little bit of Super Rugby. Now, you can get to a Super Rugby home match of Moana Pacifica for as little as $20 for adults and even cheaper for children. We've got the QR code for you to scan above. They've got a couple of home matches at Go Media Stadium and Seminoff Stadium as well. So scan the QR code to grab yourself tickets. Just before we go, because you guys are all so good at making your predictions, Hurricanes Crusaders this weekend. Who wins?
Hurricanes.
I think Canes, yeah, look good.
It's hard not to pick the Hurricanes on form, isn't it? So the Hurricanes.
I'll say the Crusaders then. And we will see you back here on The Breakdown next Sunday to do it all again and see who these guys are going to call out next week, who they're going to pick in their All Blacks team and everything else. Ka kite anō, thank you for joining us.
Over he goes. And once again, on Fiji soil, the Fijian drawer have done it. They've caused a boil over. It's thoroughly deserved.